Tariq Melrose here, still recovering from the verbal gymnastics I just witnessed. A whole speech delivered with passion, conviction, and no factual foundation. That's talent. But this channel isn't about applause for empty rhetoric. It's about holding a mirror up to it. Subscribe and stay close, because if today's political acrobatics didn't impress you, the truth behind them certainly will. When Republicans turn a security hearing into a conspiracy circus, it's not oversight. It's performance theater to protect Trump.
Colorado.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to continue down that vein. You have been here sitting today, Director Cheadle, definitively able to dismiss erroneous information and speculation. However, you are refusing to answer questions that we now know that you have the information for. You are saying that you are wanting to answer questions that the Secret Service has information to. Well, ma'am, you are the Secret Service. You are the director. You have said that you are the best for the job. So, I'm going to ask you some questions now knowing that you do have answers from the FBI, whom you have been passing the buck to this entire day. And I'll start with something that, maybe the FBI doesn't know, because it has to do with you personally. You said you spoke with President Trump after the assassination attempt. And I want to know, did you apologize to him directly for nearly having President Trump killed?
Yes, I did.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that you recognize that this was your failure. Now, since the assassination attempt, you are under oath, reminding you, have you communicated with anyone at the White House on an encrypted messaging app like Signal? Yes or no?
No, I have not.
Are you willing to surrender your personal phone for analysis?
If I am required to do so.
Okay. I will look into making that request, because I would like to see your personal phone to see if you're communicating over encrypted messaging apps. Have you ever turned down enhanced security requests from Donald Trump's detail, his special agent in charge, Sean Curran? Have you ever turned that down?
No, I have not.
Have there been, has your team, has the Secret Service? Maybe not you personally.
I believe, as I mentioned earlier, there are times when requests are made for
And you
assets,
have denied them. They have been denied.
and a denial doesn't
Has the Trump
necessarily
campaign
mean,
made requests for additional assets that have been denied?
Denial doesn't mean vulnerability.
Have there been additional requests for enhanced security at Mar-a-Lago?
We have made a number of enhancements to
You confirmed that there were
security.
bomb-sniffing dogs that were provided. You failed to confirm if there were aerial security surveillance assets that were provided. So yes or no, was that provided?
At the rally?
At the rally, yes, ma'am.
We had Overwatch provided at the rally.
You've confirmed that the assassin was identified as suspicious 57 minutes prior to the shooting. Was the suspicious individual ever approached by an agent? Was any contact ever made with him?
Not to my knowledge.
Is that the standard protocol for someone who is identified as suspicious?
The protocol would be to locate the individual and
And you said that
conduct
he
an
was
interview.
located 2 to 5 times approximately?
No, I said that the information was passed potentially somewhere between 2 to 5
And he was never
times.
located by an agent?
To my knowledge, that individual was not located by an agent.
We have dozens of rally goers who have identified him, and not one agent on the ground. There are many, many, many agents on the ground, local law enforcement, Secret Service. No one was able to identify him and have sights on and see him.
What I'm saying is that the agents that were on the ground at the time, I have no knowledge that they were able to interview him or locate him.
Thank you. Was there a local law enforcement officer who approached the roof and saw the shooter and saw that he was present on the roof?
That is the information that has been shared with
Have
me.
you spoke to that local law enforcement officer?
No, I have not.
Are you going to?
It is part of a criminal investigation that the
Are you going to-
FBI is interviewing those individuals.
Were agents stationed on the water tower?
No,
Why?
that would not be something that would be included in a security plan.
Has the man who is reported to have been present wearing a gray suit who allegedly requested a photo of the dead body of the assassin on top of the AGR roof been identified?
I don't have that information.
Is that something that you've heard of?
No.
Were ATF agents present at the rally?
To attend or to work?
To work.
Not to my knowledge.
How long did the counter sniper have crooks in his sights before the shooter opened fire on President Trump?
I don't have that specific timeline.
Will you be able to tell us if he communicated with other agents on what he was seeing through his sights?
Once I have that information, absolutely.
Because we need to know why he waited for multiple rounds to be fired at President Trump before the threat was neutralized. We need to know if he was given an order to hold fire. Now, it's you've excused the roof of being unmanned because of the slope of the roof. Do you continue to assert the slope of the roof as a credible reason for leaving this position undefended?
First, I'll go back and correct that there was no order to hold fire. Our agents and officers have the ability to neutralize a threat at the time
So you
that
don't
they
know,
see it.
I'm sorry, you don't know the communication that was taking place or how long he had him in his sights because you haven't spoke to him, but you do know that there was no order to hold fire.
I can tell you the way that our personnel are trained. They are trained on the use of force scale, that when they see a threat, they are authorized to neutralize that threat. They don't have to ask for permission.
You excuse the roof being unmanned because of the slope. Do you stand by that assertion?
The roof was not covered with an individual on it because there was overwatch provided.
Apparently not. No, there was no overwatch provided. This is very evident. President Trump was shot. A man died. There was no oversight provided. I find this rather maddening, especially now knowing that you do have answers from the FBI, who you have been passing the buck to this entire hearing, not answering a congressional hearing, members of Congress, while you are under oath and under a subpoena. I find it maddening that the director, that our country has come centimeters away from oblivion under your watch. You have answers. You are refusing to give those to us, directing us to the FBI, and this entire thing is a waste of time. You are responsible for the loss of a life and the shooting that took place on President Trump. You do need to resign. This is bipartisan. You need to be fired. You do not need to hold this position. You are not the best for this job. I am over my time, but I cannot tolerate your watch any longer, and I'm going to continue to call daily for you to be removed from your position, ma'am.
Chair recognizes Mr. Fry from South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
What we just watched is another masterclass in Republican gaslighting, this time starring Madison Cawthorn and his partner in dishonesty, Lauren Boebert, who apparently think mocking working families and smearing President Biden will distract from their own record of failure. Let's be clear. Everything in this little performance is the perfect example of how the GOP uses cheap theater, manufactured outrage, and downright lies to avoid doing the hard work of governing. Cawthorn thanks Boebert for her so-called leadership, while she rants about baby formula, unemployment benefits, and Joe Biden supposedly incentivizing laziness. But if you actually dig beneath the surface, every single word collapses under the weight of facts, reality, and basic common sense. First, the absurd claim that Joe Biden is somehow responsible for the baby formula shortage while stocking the shelves for illegal aliens. This is classic Republican scapegoating. Take a real problem that affects American families and twist it into a xenophobic narrative designed to pit working people against one another. Never mind that the shortage was caused largely by corporate consolidation in the baby formula industry, with Abbott Nutrition controlling nearly half of the market. Never mind that Trump's own trade policies made it harder to import formula from Canada and Europe when shortages hit. No, for Republicans, it's easier to blame immigrants and spin conspiracy theories than to confront the reality of corporate greed and failed deregulation.
President Biden actually invoked the Defense Production Act to ramp up formula supply and initiated Operation Fly Formula to get emergency shipments into the country. That's leadership. What did Republicans do? They held press conferences, tweeted nonsense, and offered zero solutions. Second, let's tackle this nonsense about unemployment benefits. Boebert whines that governors in 25 states rejected Biden's extended federal benefits and tries to spin that as proof that the program was harmful. But here's the truth. Those benefits kept millions of families afloat during the worst pandemic in a century. They prevented a wave of evictions, kept food on the table for children, and allowed small businesses to survive because customers still had spending power. The idea that workers were just sitting on the couch eating pizza is not only insulting, it's rooted in the old Republican lie that poor and working class people are lazy freeloaders. In reality, people weren't rushing back into dangerous, low-paying jobs because Republicans had spent decades attacking unions, suppressing wages, and eroding worker protections. Biden's benefits gave them a lifeline, something the GOP has never forgiven him for because it exposed their cruelty. And let's not ignore the hypocrisy. Boebert talks about dignity in work while defending a party that votes against raising the minimum wage, against paid family leave, against affordable childcare, against healthcare expansion. How can you pretend to care about workers when every policy you push makes it harder for them to survive? She mentions corporations offering massive signing bonuses. Yes, because for the first time in decades, workers had a little leverage. Employers had to compete for labor instead of treating employees as disposable. That's not a bug, that's a feature of a fair economy. But Republicans hate when workers have bargaining power. They want desperate people who will take any wage, accept any abuse, and never question the billionaire class that funds the GOP. Third, the attack on Joe Biden's age and work ethic. Boebert sneers that the president is calling it quits in the middle of the day and struggling to stay awake. This is the same tired, ageist garbage we hear over and over, as if making childish jokes will distract from the fact that Biden has delivered historic investments in infrastructure, manufacturing, clean energy, healthcare, and student debt relief. Meanwhile, their guy, Donald Trump, spent more time golfing than working, held fewer press conferences than any modern president, and literally tried to overthrow democracy rather than face voters again. If anyone embodies laziness and corruption, it's Trump and his MAGA cult. Then comes the most insulting part, calling unemployment aid un-American. What's truly un-American is letting corporations exploit labor, letting families starve in a pandemic, letting billionaires hoard record profits while frontline workers risked their lives. What's un-American is Republicans trying to repeal the Affordable Care Act in the middle of a health crisis, or cheering when states cut off benefits early while their own constituents begged for relief. This is cruelty dressed up as fiscal conservatism. It's not about saving money. Remember, these are the same people who exploded the deficit with Trump's $2 trillion tax cut for the wealthy. No, this is about punishing working people for daring to demand dignity. And the cherry on top? Boebert thanks Madison Cawthorn for his leadership. Let's pause to remember who Cawthorn is. The disgraced former congressman who lied about his military service, who was caught bringing weapons into airports, who spread conspiracy theories about orgies in Washington, and who was so toxic his own Republican colleagues turned against him. If that's who she's holding up as a model of leadership, then the GOP is truly bankrupt, morally, politically, and intellectually. Every line of this rant reveals the GOP's playbook. They demonize immigrants, insult workers, mock the president, cry about debt when Democrats invest in people, and then shovel billions in tax breaks to their donors without hesitation. They attack Biden's relief efforts while offering nothing but culture wars, fake outrage, and sound bites for Fox News. They pretend to be the party of small business while opposing every policy that would actually help small businesses compete with corporate monopolies. They rail against government handouts while voting to subsidize oil companies, defense contractors, and the ultra-rich. And they wrap it all in the flag while undermining democracy at every turn. But here's the truth Republicans don't want you to hear. Biden's policies are working. Unemployment is at record lows. Job creation has outpaced projections. Wages have risen, especially for lower-income workers. The deficit is shrinking faster than expected. Infrastructure projects are underway in red and blue states alike. Child poverty was cut nearly in half, thanks to the expanded child tax credit before Republicans let it expire. That's real progress. That's what Democrats fight for, and that's exactly why the GOP has to resort to these desperate, dishonest performances, because they can't compete with results. So when you hear Boebert and Cawthorn rant about baby formula, or people sitting on couches, or Biden being sleepy, remember, it's all noise. It's all theater. It's all designed to distract you from the reality that Republicans have no plan to help working families, no plan to lower costs, no plan to strengthen democracy. Their only plan is to tear down, obstruct, and cling to Trumpism no matter the cost. And that cost is enormous. It's families forced to choose between rent and medicine. It's small businesses crushed by corporate giants. It's communities gutted by Republican governors who reject federal aid out of spite. It's democracy under siege from insurrectionists and election deniers. That's the legacy of the GOP. That's the choice they're offering. Democrats, on the other hand, are not perfect, but they are governing. They are fighting for working families. They are protecting health care, expanding opportunity, and standing up for democracy against an authoritarian movement that worships Trump more than it respects the Constitution. That's the contrast, and that's what this latest GOP clown show only makes more obvious. So the next time you hear Republicans rant about unemployment or laziness, ask yourself, who's really lazy? The party that obstructs, complains, and does nothing? Or the party that rolls up its sleeves and delivers results? The answer is clear. This has been Tariq Melrose, and you've been watching Tariq Melrose Vlogs. If you're tired of GOP lies, if you want the truth, if you believe in protecting democracy and building a fairer America, then stick with us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next takedown of Republican hypocrisy. Together, we'll keep exposing the frauds, defending our future, and making sure the voices of working people are heard loud and clear.